Hi, it's T with Teaquilts, and I'm back with Studio Part 2. This is my Longarm sewing area, which is where I store most of my fabrics and my office. So I will show you what I have. On this wall, I have a treadle sewing machine. Have a little quilt on the wall right there. And then in the purple bag, I have battery operated fans that I use for line dancing, and sometimes when I'm hot in here I will plug them in so I can have air flowing directly on me. And then I will back up now so that you can see this entire wall. Okay, so this is my wall. When I came in from over this way, you saw the back, you were at the back side of my storage units there. So the most noticeable thing on this wall is my fabrics. And all of my fabrics have been rewrapped, and I have been gradually getting them onto these shelves. The only fabrics that are not wrapped are those fabrics there that I purchased a few years ago, and I kept them aside because I thought I might use them for backing fabric, so they're just sitting there for right now. But another thing is that all of these shelves are double stacked. So when I need to pull something out, I just remove the stack if it's in the back, and then you can see where I have double stacked shelves here. These shelving units we installed ourselves. We bought the materials at Home Depot. So now we'll just go up a little closer. So on top of this kitchen cabinet unit, I actually purchased it to use it where I have this big ironing surface is what I was using it for, and I did that for years, and that's why the cover is really bad and it needs to be replaced. But when I bought my studio, I decided to use that as my studio cutting area. So there's my studio die system there, one of my trays. I've got all of my larger trays and dies stored in another area of the house just because I couldn't fit it all in here. And then that office unit actually sits on my Longarm when I don't have big quilts on that I'm quilting, and right now I have a big quilt that I'm quilting, so it's just sitting there. And that's the free arm tray to one of my sewing machines that are in the shop, so I'm just sitting it there as a reminder that I got the machines in the shop. And then I've got various notions that I could use while I'm cutting in that box, and some pins to wrap. And then in this white box is something that needs to be mailed to the telephone company, and then some award ribbons that fell off because they were glued together instead of hand sewed, and I need to sew back the pins onto those. Then the last thing over in this corner, I just have a light up here that I use when I'm die cutting, so I can cut that off. My daughter's dog is staying with me probably for another 2 months, and I have to have jackets and things accessible for me to get in and out of the house with the dog, and a fan. And then during the winter, when it was cold and snowy outside, I went out to the garage and got a roll of batting that I did not get a chance to put back. Also on this wall is I have a quilt where my quilt guild, my small group quilting guild, we exchange blocks, and I made this quilt with mine. And then another thing over here is one of those large size lint rollers. I use it sometimes to clean my floor before I vacuum, and I'll talk about that in a minute because I just bought something about a month ago that really is working well for me. And then also a little portable ironing board just in case I want to iron something here, then I have that here. So we want to just slightly go back to the fabric organization again. I've got prints over here that are not necessarily floral, but I do have a certain stack pulled out for paisleys. Then I've got all of my browns, purples, and then to the second shelf is my pinks. Blue fabric here with the polka dots. I'm actually going to use it to recover that when I get a chance. And then I also have orange and yellow fabric, and then my white prints. And then over here I have those fabrics that were given to me by this lady for charity quilts that I'm going to use. They do have some polyester in them, so I kept them separated. And then my grays and blacks are over in this area. So now what we're missing is the red, blue, and green fabrics, and that's what's stored in these units. Now, every once in a while I do get other things put into these cabinets. So I might have my iron down in here. So let's start with the red. Matter of fact, I'm just going to... Okay, so I've decided to hold you instead. So over on the left, and then also all the way through to the back. So we added another shelf into this unit so that it would be double shelved. And then I also have 2 layers of fabric. So one's in the back and then another stack in the front. So reds are over here. And then they do extend just a little bit back over there. I hope you can see. And then I have all of my blues. And then I have some blues that are in a bag because I'm working on a project. And this is the project. I'm working on a New York Beauty. So that's the book for the New York Beauty. And then over here are my green prints. And this is just an empty container that I can use to store some things in if I need to. So down here are double areas of fabric. Over on this wall I have an old license plate that I had on one of my vehicles. I made this quilt for a challenge where the names of the block had to begin with the first letter of your first or last name, and I chose Tijuana. So I did these trailing geese and then decided to set them into the letter T. And then I did tumbling blocks and then tumblers. And I used any and everything that I had in my stash for this quilt. And I actually won first place for most creative. And then the next quilt here is my round to it. And then my scrap queen, which is my logo. And then I did a small trapunto quilt. And then one of my labels, my name labels. On this wall here is, on the bottom, is a butterfly quilt. That was a Quilt As You Go by, I think it's Designs and Machine Embroidery with Eileen Roche. I think that's who that design is. So that's what's at this area. And then if I just take you down so you can see further what's along this wall, this is the opposite side of my long arm area. And I will just zoom in on like the cart. I have an air purifier, then I have a trash can on that side to get my threads. This is backing, batting, and scraps that I can use to test my stitches before I start on other quilts. Then I just have some quilt supplies hanging in this white unit here. I'll show you when I get to the front. Some more hooks under there where I'm hanging some long arm things. And then up on the top is where I store my thread. Underneath here, I do have other things that are stored on the side of my long arm. It's not quite organized, but in this white unit here, I have all of my floral prints. And I'm not going to open that because it's on wheels on carpet, and so it's very difficult, but it's filled with all floral fabrics. The green tub is scraps that I used to use when I go to workshops. I would have some fabrics available. And then some other long arm tools and equipment are in those boxes there. So while I'm over here, I will tell you about my new find. I recently purchased the Bissell Pet Eraser vacuum. And I bought it because, number one, I had the dog. And number two, I thought maybe if I got this vacuum, then I wouldn't have to use the roller to clean the threads up before I vacuum. Because with a regular home vac, all of the threads would wrap around the roller. And then the roller would stop. And so it actually works for that. So with the Pet Eraser vac, and there's my little grand dog Paige. With the Pet Eraser, I got this handheld vac, and I actually think this is one of the best quilting tools I've ever had. I actually use this to get the lint off of my quilts and any threads that are on my quilt as I'm quilting. So now I don't have to use rollers for that either. Now we're on the other side of the room where I normally do my videotaping, but I just wanted to show you what was on this side. And these are the things that I'm dealing with. You can see where I have the blinds and the light comes into this side of the house in the morning hours. And so I put this piece of black felt up with some binder clips just to hold it for when I'm taping, so that you don't get the lines from the blinds in my videos. Some of my earlier videos, you can see the lines on my actual cutting table down here that came from the blinds. Up on the top is just a small selection of some of my pin cushions. I collect pin cushions. I love them. I have a friend that makes quite a few of them. And then in that box with the potato chips or oddball size template rulers, like double wedding ring, rob Peter to pay Paul, those type of things that we don't use on a regular basis. And then just up there that shouldn't be up there are a few books that I need to get onto the shelves. Now we're going to talk about the long arm. I do have hooks that I put on my long arm that I just bought at Harbor Freight. You can get like 4 in a pack. And anything that I don't want to get filed away too deep, I tend to put up on my long arm on the side. I also keep a bigger trash bag, and then my quilting totes. One for my gill supplies, and then one for just to run out the house so that I have everything I need. Sometimes I would put rulers up there that I'm using as well. Have a tape measure over there. And I did change all of the lights in my system except for one to LED light. I did not change that light. It still has more of a yellow hue, so you can see the difference between the left light and the right light. I didn't change that one because I'm not ever cutting over that way. That's where my machine rests, so I figured I'd save a few bucks there. So again, as you all know, I have the long arm table here, which is where I normally do most of my taping, but I also cut here. I sort my papers filing here. I also fold my laundry here, so I have to really keep this area clean. That's why I have the duster hanging there. Under the machine, on this side of the frame, I have 2 more of those white containers. The one in the far left holds all of my landscape type fabrics. And then this one here holds all of my novelty prints. In this basket here, I have all of my pantos. And then it overflowed, so I had to get another container to hold pantos. Then I have my ruler and cutting supplies that I use while I'm in this room. I have a trash can. And then I have 3 file systems. Now these are not lined up right because I need to get off this free roll of bat that I got with my machine. It's 100% polyester bat is under my machine. And once I get that out of there, then I can push these storage cabinets back. This is a new addition that I haven't had a chance to organize yet. And just for informational purposes, the quilt on the frame, I'm actually doing a quilt with me to just explain what I'm doing. And I will have that up in the next week or two. So this is what you couldn't see before. I had a friend that made that little button mug rug for us in our small group. And I just like it. It's never going to receive a drink or a plate of food. So I just put it on my wall as decoration. And then this I need to organize for my Longarm quilting supplies. I'm in the process of doing that. That's why it kind of look raggedy right now, but that's what it is. Now you can sort of kind of see the remaining items on this wall. I have some other quilts I made. I'll just zoom in so you can see them. I had made a quilt about Nairobi. We had to do a quilt that was out of Africa. And then also the one underneath it I did as gifts. It was the flower card from Paper Panache. And I made those as gifts for the people in my small group. For the horse quilt on the top on the right, we had to make a quilt from a photo. And I had gone to Louisville, Kentucky for a convention. And I took a picture of a horse statue that was in downtown Louisville. And so I made that little quilt. And I used the crystals, and I used some of that specialty yarn for the tail. Here's an up close shot of the Nairobi one. I actually won first and second place in those. And then this one was just a little crazy quilt that I made for our lecture. And I think it's pretty cool. So it's got all sewing related notion blocks. And so I put those together just to have as a demonstration of a crazy quilt. And then here I have last year's picture of my large Quilt Guild retreat, all of the participants, and I just have neglected to put this year's over here. In addition, I have the two little quilts just sitting on top of the sewing machine. This is where the Singer 9960 is stored. Inside of that, in that cabinet that it's sitting on top of, is the Singer clone that I received from my grandmother. And that's one of my little foot pillows sometimes I'll pull out to use when I'm sitting at my computer or watching videos on YouTube. And then my chair that I use there. And sitting in front of that is one of those little stool things, or you can just sit it for decorative purposes, but you can also sit on it, so I go ahead and just leave that there. So on this corner, I have this huge china cabinet that I got from my mom, so that's a nice memory. But up on top, I also have a memory from my dad. He was in the Army, and that's the flag that was on his grave. My father actually passed away when I was 5 years old. And then up on top are some of my husband and I wedding photos. And then I always have a little snowman something. I collect snowman objects as well. Now, what's in this giant china cabinet? It used to hold my china, but I long ago took that out. And now it holds all of my things that need to be quilted. These are not customer quilts. These are all my quilts. And there's even some in the bottom that I won't show you, but I'll just basically explain what's going on. Up in this center area, I just have some batting. And then over on the far left side are quilt tops that have their backings already made. And then the rest of these at the top are quilt tops that don't have their backings made. And then I have on this second shelf a few quilts that are ready to be quilted. I have the batting already pre-cut. When I pull my batting out of my garage, I tend to cut for quite a few quilts at one time. And then there's also a whole stack here where I have all the tops made but no backs. Then when I go down into this area, this is all of my quilt tops that are made, but I don't know if I want to put a border on them or not. These are all of my practice quilting pieces. And this is my stack of 108-inch wide backings. So I'll treat myself to one of those after I piece so many backings. And then underneath this table, I keep a bag for scraps that I want to give. When I go to gill, I'll take that bag and just put it on the free table. And I also have another bag that's for batting scraps. I have an organization that one of the nursing homes use them with their consumers to make projects. Then coming further down, there's a little break in between these two units, and I use it to store an extra table. I have also my So Easy table that I take on retreats, and I also have a step ladder so that I can get to the items that are up high. Up here I have storage of some of my specialty fabrics. And the top one is, and the top blue one is like my collections where I have fat quarters of a particular collection, so I will put them in there. Then I have Valentine's prints here. Black, red, and white prints are in the bottom one, and then patriotic prints are up on the top. And in the middle, I just have this stuff that shouldn't be stored here. It's just kind of sitting here, but I have a zipper container, and then I have some solid fabrics and the jelly roll. And in here, I store most of my electronic cords and various items. And then in these other drawers, I have some Longarm tools that will fit better in a drawer than hanging in that unit over there. And then here are my embroidery software, and then also embroidery software is in there. Below this cabinet is where another unit. This unit actually came from IKEA. All of the other white cabinet drawer and open faced units came from Michaels. It's their Recollections brand of storage units, but I have to say that I do like IKEA units better. They're better put together, and I feel like they're sturdier. So that's what I have gone to. My white units that I showed you previously that have my fabrics in them, those also came from IKEA. So on this shelf, IKEA used to sell DVD holders, and they no longer sell those, and they're very long slotted things, and I use that to store my dies in. So I will give you a side view, but mostly these are my Go piece dies. And then over on this side, I have all of my Go applique or curve dies. And then down on the bottom, I have my studio dies, and I just have those in those office paper sorters that you can put on your desk. I find those were better at holding my materials. And then I have another wire rack over here that's a pot hanger rack that I use to store some dies over here. And then I have smaller dies that I just put into a container to keep them corralled so that they won't fall down. That's my book that I just made, and then some more nested dies, and then some more Teaquilts Studio dies. On the bottom shelf is just whatnots over here, things I need to find a place for. And then over here are all of my machine quilting books. And then here's my messy office. I thought about cleaning it, and then I said, why? This is how I work. I have very limited space, so when I pull something out, it's just out. So up here, I have my buttons quilt, and then I have another blue quilt that I made years ago. Some more family pictures. My daughter, my stepdaughter, my husband and I on our honeymoon. And a bulletin board that have things on it that's upcoming or more important to me. And then, of course, my messy desk. I got things on it that I need to move and put in place. And then I got my print area and then more storage bins. These are papers that are stored in there that I've now got another filing system for, but I haven't gotten around to filing. When I was working as a secretary, I kept going to school because I hated filing. And so I decided in order to get away from filing, you need to get another degree. So that ended up working out. And up here, a friend gave me this. And I just set it there. And then these are my quick filing things. So at least they're sorted already. And all I have to do is just get them. They're either working documents like my to-dos, bills, my quilt guild information, my scrap quilting club information, lecture information, receipts. Various things are in there, and I also just sit my Bible there because every once in a while I'm sitting here and I just need to find the word. And then more office supply storage in here. So I think I have covered everything in this room. I still got some sorting and cleaning to do here, but for the most part, this room is almost done. Seems like I wanted to tell you something else. So I think that's all that I wanted to tell you about my room. I have one other thing. I don't know if anybody is interested in this. I have actually sorted my Christmas fabric. It's in a video that I actually posted online on Saturday, April 1st. And I had some Christmas scraps that may not be the prettiest thing. This is actually a round placemat that's already pre-quilted. Then I've got like a Christmas stocking panel. And then some holly pines. They're like little blocks. And I know I've got quite a few beginner quilters who don't have a fabric stash, and I thought maybe somebody might like these. You can cut these things into squares perhaps and use them so I'm thinking like something like 5-inch squares or 4-inch squares, where you could use these to make just a charm quilt. If you're interested in these, just leave a comment in the comment section letting me know that you're interested in the drawing. I'll make sure that the title of this video says it's a drawing so everybody can participate. But if you're interested in these Christmas fabric scraps that I rejected, then you're more than welcome to have them. I will mail them to you free of charge. And you can just let me know in the comment section. If it's more than one person, I'll just do a random draw to select somebody to win. And I think that's it. If I missed anything in this video, just let me know in the comment section and I'll try to explain it. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.